2023, like any year, had so many films to offer. Some were great, fantastic even, but there were still some that didn't quite meet the quota. It's that time again where I take a look at some of the worst films of the year. And believe me, I had the misfortune to see a fair few of them. I'm essentially gonna chalk this up to a top 10 list, because everyone loves those, and it'll go from least bad to the worst of the worst. So, let's take a look at them.
Number 10.
At number 10, we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I had done an in-depth review of this film on the channel when it hit theaters, but I'll summarize some of my thoughts. I actually think the opening's done well. It's the only time in the film that feels like an Indiana Jones movie. The only thing that holds it back is the wonky-ass CGI required to make Harrison Ford look younger. I think the movie's main problem is following the trend helmed by Kathleen Kennedy, where you have a legacy character team up with a new female character and have the female character be able to be good at everything the legacy character can do, but better, without actually making it feel earned. They're essentially trying to make an excuse for the new characters so that in the next few years they can make a spin-off series or film out of them. Another problem is that the film is incredibly bloated and you can feel it. It's way too long, and there's also a lot of problems in some of the story choices, like how they handle Shia LaBeouf's character and basically the whole ending. Listen, I haven't seen it in a while, but my evaluation of this thing is that it could be worse than Crystal Skull.
Number 9.
At number 9, we have The Meg 2, another review on the channel, but I digress. I'm an avid hater of this franchise. I think they're nothing more than extremely stupid, mind-numbing popcorn flicks. Honestly, I don't even know between the two movies. Both The Meg and The Meg 2 are basically just as bad as each other. This film is incredibly nonsensical in the third act. They introduce a Kraken, and none of the characters are fazed by this. They act like it's the most normal thing ever, and it's so baffling as to why this is. The writing in this movie is terrible, the acting is pretty bad, but at least it feels like people on set had fun making it. It's the perfect brain rot movie to watch with friends while being extremely drunk, so you don't have to remember the movie the next day.
Number 8.
Coming in at number 8 is We Have a Ghost. This is a really terrible Netflix movie starring David Harbour, who plays a ghost, and that's about all I can remember. He befriends a little black kid and they do shenanigans. This film is also really bloated, coming in at just short over 2 hours. And for a kids film, you're asking a lot of your target audience to make your film this long, unless you have a valid reason to do so, and this movie has no reason to do so. I remember there being a plot twist, and it was just so incredibly predictable and not that good. This film is just incredibly grating in its runtime, and just so easily forgettable.
Number 7.
At number 7, we have Murder Mystery 2, another sequel. Are we seeing a pattern here? Not only is it another sequel, but it's also an Adam Sandler movie. Adam Sandler is in this weird limbo where he has a contract with Netflix to make a bunch of films for them. Basically, the reason you don't see any of the Happy Madison Adam Sandler films in cinemas anymore is because they all just get shit onto Netflix. This movie is incredibly unfunny and badly written. I don't remember laughing at a single joke in this movie, which is never a good thing for your comedy film. What made this more grating is I had to watch the first movie before watching this, so it was basically a double bill of shit. It was like shit stacked on top of another pile of shit. But I do think the first movie, in fairness, was ever so slightly better. So if you take anything from that, watch the first one, even if it's not that good, and then maybe don't bother with the other one.
Number 6.
At number 6, we have Megan, or M3 Gan. Now I know what you're thinking, isn't Megan a 2022 movie? Well, in the good old land of Ireland, we didn't get to experience Megan until like late January, and since I wasn't really pumping out uploads at this time, I can finally express my thoughts on this thing. I genuinely have no idea how or why this got so popular. People trying to claim this movie is satire and it's tongue-in-cheek, but no, when I watched this movie, they seemed fully committed to making this as serious as possible. Like, yes, there are some humorous moments, but they genuinely want you to think that Megan is scary. They continue to give off this impression even when she does that dance, that fucking dance that they only put in the film for it to become a TikTok trend or a meme, which hilariously failed at both. When that scene came on in the theater, it was the point of no return for me. I really hated Megan, and it pains me that this is the type of horror that gets popular. I'm definitely not looking forward to the sequel on its way.
Number 5.
At number 5, we got Insidious The Red Door. I'll never understand why this franchise got as popular as it is. I think this subgenre of haunted house / possession movies in modern horror cinema is so tired. Like, if we're honest, the first Insidious is a poor man's Poltergeist, I'm sorry. This film was insanely boring and barely felt like a horror movie if it wasn't for the occasional jump scares every now and then. This film also renders the past 2 movies in the franchise basically useless, as they barely tie into this installment at all. I will admit there are a few times of fine cinematography, proving that Patrick Wilson could maybe be a good director someday, but this film surely isn't a good start for his directing career. Nothing feels earned in this film, there's no character development, and I struggle to care about anything that happens in this movie. While I don't enjoy the first movie that much, it's the only good one in the franchise. Maybe the second one as well.
Number 4.
At number 4, we got The Nun 2. By the looks of this list, you'd think I just hate sequels. That's not true. I just hate badly made sequels, and in the modern landscape of cinema, which at this point is basically ruled by our corporal overlords, the majority of what we get to see are sequels, prequels, and remakes. I didn't bother with The Nun 1 before seeing its sequel, but I didn't need to, as even the filmmakers knew this, because at the beginning of The Nun 2, there's a huge exposition dump, which just explains the plot of the first movie, so it saved me a lot of time. I remember the start of the movie having a cool kill, but has the nun use an ability that's only used another time in the movie. I will say they kill a kid in the movie, and I have respect for any horror film that chooses to kill a child. This film fails as a horror movie as it's not scary at all, and like its counter franchise Insidious, relies more on cheap jump scares instead of giving us anything atmospheric and creepy. Basically nothing more than a complete waste of time.
Number 3.
We're in the top 3 now, boys, and coming in at number 3 is Spy Kids Armageddon. What a shocker to have a Spy Kids movie in 2023 and also have it be absolutely terrible. This is a franchise that is long past its prime, and why Hollywood and or Robert Rodriguez insists on continue it is beyond me. Instead of another sequel, this opts to completely reboot the franchise, which is never a good thing. I swear they make the kids younger than the original kids were, which subjects us to some genuinely awful child acting, and I don't care if they're children. They sucked in this movie, as did everyone in this movie, honestly. I respect Robert Rodriguez as a director, and I never know if he makes these movies for fun or for money. For whatever reasons they may be, they need to stop.
Number 2.
At number 2, we have The Exorcist Believer. I cannot stress enough how from the start this is such an awful idea. To remake a film so timeless is basically blasphemous. And for them to churn out a massive piece of shit is so incredibly insulting. A big problem I had was how they did the horror movie trend of bringing in a legacy character, except like all the copycats of Halloween 2018, they've no idea how to handle things. They bring Ellen Burstyn into the film only to have her completely obsolete not that long after she gets introduced. The acting is terrible, the story is mediocre and idiotic, and technicality wise it's extremely unimpressive. The fact they want to squeeze 2 more films out of this piece of shit is outstanding. Finally, we are at the number 1 spot. Here we have what I think is quite possibly the absolute worst movie of 2023. And if you've been on the channel long enough, you can probably guess what that is. That movie, of course, can only be Strays. Strays is a stain on cinematic art and integrity. No one on this picture gave a single fuck about making a good product or anything remotely enjoyable. The only positive I could find out of this thing is that at least all the actors involved got a fat paycheck and they can continue to live their billionaire lives. The humor in this movie is awful, borderline uncomfortable at times. The plot is super thin and follows that of a movie for children, but it's not, because dogs say the fuck word, and that's the whole joke. Scenes really just happen without much cohesion with each other, or at least that's how it feels. Characters are annoying and one-dimensional, and even the fact that they're dogs couldn't make me care about them at all. It was the first time in a long time I wanted to leave the theater, but I decided to stay, and I absolutely regretted my decision. I hope I'd never have the misfortune to ever watch this literal piece of dog shit for the rest of my life. So that about does it for 2023, the worst of 2023 at least. There were a lot of films I'd rather never have seen, and it makes me wonder what type of movies we'll have the displeasure of watching in 2024. In the next video though, it'll be good to be more positive, where we take a look at all of the best films of the year. So I hope you will stay tuned to check that out.